Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In the show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, my book about lazy RPG prep, in preparation for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running a Tales of the Valiant game set in the world of Midgard in the Dragon Empire called Scourge of the Dragon Empire. This show, like all of the work of Sly Flourish, is brought to you by patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to all kinds of awesome tips, tricks, tools, things like the 5e artisanal database, which you will see me using as I'm prepping for today's show, along with other adventures and scenarios and guidebooks and all kinds of stuff you get for being a patron of Sly Flourish. You get to join the awesome Lazy GM community over on Discord, and you help me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your outstanding support. So last week, let's jump over to Obsidian. Last week, the characters had made the choice to dive into Stonewatch. Stonewatch, we will get a map here. Where is Stonewatch? That is Stonewatch. Stonewatch is a small goblin keep. And I liked it because it has multiple ways to get in and handle it. And it's not too big, right? This looks like a two-sessioner. I feel like in this session, so they made the choice to infiltrate it. They decided to infiltrate from below. I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. So this was kind of interesting. So I wanted them to choose a location, but I didn't dictate the approach. And that helped me build out the last week's adventure without knowing what approach they were going to take. Are they going to try to go in through the front door? Are they going to try to fly in from above now that they're 7th level, like getting up there? And also, like, 4 of the 6 of them have spider climb, so it's like they could just climb walls anyway. So I didn't know if they were going to come in from above. I didn't know if they were going to come in from below. So I had multiple passageways in, and they chose what I tend to find is the most common way in, which is sneaking in through the culvert underneath the place. So I like the model. The 3 approach model for infiltrating a location is kind of a common model for an RPG game and a fantasy RPG game, but probably a lot of different RPG games. You know, and this is like a perfect example, right? You have a keep, there's people there that you want to deal with, you have a mission at the keep. In this case, it's to really destabilize the Dragon Empire here. The Dragon Empire has, and particularly the agents of Adisha of the Burning Sands is one of the Morza, one of the powerful dragons here, and they have agents that are here. So they wanted to let's take care of the agents, which really means they're going there to kill everybody, right? And they want to go there and kill everybody so that they don't have to have this group at their back when they go into the city to try to go recover the helm of teleportation. But a very common scenario is we're going to infiltrate a place, and that place has multiple ways in. Front door, flying in from the top, or some other sort of way from up above, and then away from below. And I think that approach works, and it means that as a GM, you're prepping multiple approaches. You don't necessarily know which one they're going to pick, and then you really have to think about it like a scenario. So it's kind of one of those interesting things where I want the players to make some choices ahead of the prep so that I can focus a bit, but I don't want them to give me too much because then I'm just going to focus on one thing. And in this case, saying I wanted to know whether or not they were going to Stonewatch at all helps me. But then I didn't require that they tell me where they're going to go or how they're going to get inside. Like you can see, there's that little window on the right-hand side there. Could they sneak in through that window? Yeah, right? And if they did, that would have been really cool, right? But I would have dealt with that. But they went through the basement, which worked fine. So they went through the basement. They fought a bunch of soggy zombies. The fights were pretty low. For 4, I think we have 5 7th level characters, and they had no trouble because they weren't facing really powerful foes. They fought a lot of zombies. They fought a couple of gibbering mouthers, Zoggies. That's a great name. Yes, soggy zombies, Zoggies. And they learned that there were goblin crypts down here. And a sort of people were like, hey, Bob Ross and Mike Shea, are they the same person? No, I don't have hair, for one. I'm missing a lot of hair. But a happy little accident, or more like a little improv-y thing that occurred, was that they are followers of northern gods. I kind of ran out of, I was like, oh, I never really decided who they worshipped or anything like that. And I knew I had one group that worshipped this new god that's out of the labyrinth, which I liked. But I didn't have other gods that they worshipped. And so I ended up with the northern gods. So they saw Sith, and I don't think they saw Loki, but they saw Wotan and they saw Thor, like imagery. But what's interesting is like this is way far in the south, so that means these goblins had come down far from the north long ago. And I think that's kind of cool because it adds some texture onto goblins, right? It means like, oh, they're not just black-hearted little thieves. These are, they built this keep and they were operating down here in a copper mine, but they were followers of the northern gods, right? They're goblins that had followed the northern gods. I think that's kind of neat, right? Add some fun texture to it. So they met them. They met one of the goblins there. I think the goblin's name was Esminet the Viper, who was a goblin ghost who talked about how there were other goblins here that had followed a dark path. And that was these goblins who followed. I think I had something in here for it. Looking at my notes here. I don't see it, but there was another. Oh, yeah, the shrine to Edrika that I was using. Like there was a shrine to Edrika that other goblins and maybe Darrow had followed, and they learned about it from the ghosts and said, yeah, we don't, why, they were like, do we want to go do that? And then other people are like, why? Like our goal is not to crawl through these sewer, old sunken crypts. Our goal is to kill the dragons upstairs so that we can go get this helmet teleportation and not have them at our back. So they left it, which made sense. And they crawled out of the top of it, going back to the map here, they crawled out of the top and got to the middle level. And there they battled a few different guards that were there. They actually freaked a guard out because one polymorphed into a bat and flew out. And the guards all know that there's like creepy stuff down below. They know, like the mercenaries that are operating around here know that there's like another real nasty, kind of corruption to this place. So they were freaking out when giant bats started flying up and grabbing people. And they, one person got blasted and pulled down. And so they're freaking out, calling for their mommies while this giant bat is holding on to them. And they defeated those guys and then found the prisoners who were in that upper left chamber in the middle level. They were trapped there, and they, there's about 8 or 9 of them left, and they were being sent in to, as the trap detectors of the mercenary group is here, who are the bards. What are they called? The sword singers, right? And just they managed to release a bunch of them. I think they said like, hey, we want you to wait here till we clear everything out because there's a lot going on in this place. So you hang out here, but you can keep the board because there's a big board that sort of separates them out that they couldn't get across. And so you keep the board, that way you've got control if you want to leave, but we're going to go out. And as soon as they came out, a bunch of bandits attacked. And so that today I know exactly where the game is starting, which is a bunch of bandits, or a bunch of these members of the Sword Singers are coming out, which are going to be largely bandits and a couple of veterans. And that's going to kind of start today's session. So we can begin by creating a new session planning template today. So we go to session notes. I'm using Obsidian to do all my game prep. If you want to learn more about Obsidian, there are links down in the show notes for how to use Obsidian for game prep. I've got a template for my Dragon Empire game. So I have a kind of a situation that I'm a little worried about today. One of my friends said that they were not going to be able to make the game. So then I called the on-call player and said, hey, we're in, you're in, right? We got a seat free. And they said, great, I'm going to be running remote. And I said, no problem, we got another person running remote. And then the first person said, hey, I can make it after all, which means I think I might have 7 players today. 7 is outside of my comfort zone, right? 6 to me, 6 is right at the edge of my comfort zone. 6 is a lot of players. 5 is really good. 4, it actually depends. Sometimes 4 is not enough, right? I like 5. 5 players for me is kind of ideal for most of it. I'm happy with 4 in circumstances like this. Boss fights and kind of big events, I usually kind of worry that 4 is not enough, which is interesting because 4 is sort of the default for 5e. A lot of the stuff is built around having 4 characters. I should be more comfortable with 4. But today I have 7. And 7 is a lot, but I'm not going to tell anybody they can't come. Right? I'm not going to pull the invitation. So, we're going to run with 7, and 2 of them will be online. We'll do a quick run through on the characters, but I know, let's see, mercenaries and mercenary veterans of the Sword Singers attack. We're going to highlight Sword Singers, but that's our strong start. So we know right where things are going to go. That's fantastic. But let's run through the characters. So Emavin is our rogue. Maybe he knows the Sword Singers are known for their brutality and their perchance. They're bad people. The Sword Singers are a bad group. I think that works well. Gaudenzia is a ranger. We have 2 rangers. Gaudenzia and Emmert are both rangers. Oh yeah, we'll definitely have a party caller. Yeah, Michael in chat says, is it time to reinstate the tradition of the party caller? I've been doing that anyway. So we have pretty good roles for people. Usually somebody handles initiative, somebody is handling quartermastering. And what I've been doing recently is randomly rolling for a caller, right? And I'd say like, okay, who's going to be today's caller? But I think I'll probably do that today. Yeah. The other thing I want to do today, and I'm probably going to add before my strong start, is remind players to remind me to draw in the 2 online folks. And it's really a reminder for all of us. This is actually comes to mind when we're talking about Daggerheart. One of the conversations that's coming up a lot with Daggerheart is the way that Daggerheart handles turn order, and that there are no real turns. It's sort of like people jump in when it makes sense for their character to jump in. And some people are like, wow, that is the wackiest thing I ever heard. There's no way that can work. It's going to eat everybody up. And when my argument against that is 2/3 of the traditional game don't have turn order either. The exploration component typically doesn't have a turn order, and the role-playing typically does not have a turn order. Games like Shadowdark added to those. And even when I was running Shadowdark, I kept breaking out of it. So I don't think it's that unreasonable to think that why don't you just run the last third of the game the same way as you run the other 2 parts of the game? I don't think it's, I don't know how weird people have it. However, there is definitely a problem, and I think it's exacerbated with online play, of 1 or 2 players taking far more of the spotlight than other more quiet players, which can happen in exploration and role-playing as well as combat. Like that is a common problem that can happen, period. And one of my arguments about how to deal with that is to make it the player's responsibility to draw in other players into what's going on in the game, right? That I think and I think we could just be explicit about it. We say to players, one of your responsibilities is to draw other people into the story as well. And you cannot assume the DM, why should the DM be responsible 100% for making sure the spotlight is getting passed around? That is another role that everybody can take. And so I want to, and I don't think that's dependent upon Shadowdark or Daggerheart. I think we could do that in any RPG. So, but today I really need it because I got 7 players. It's going to be very easy for people to get lost in the spotlight or to lose the spotlight. So this is something that I want to talk to them, and because I have players online. And I think online play, it exacerbates it because they're not there in front of you. You're not seeing the body language. You're not looking over and remembering that, oh yeah, they haven't done anything in a while. Online, it's really easy to lose track of people and lose track of the spotlight. So I think in particular, and I think we can just say it, right? Like, hey, in particular, make sure to draw the people in that are playing online because I forget, right? And we just say look, I'm already managing a lot. It's hard for me to remember that too. I ask each of you to think about how you can draw the other characters into the game, and particularly those who are not physically here. And all of my players will totally be on board with that, right? No one's going to have an issue with that. So I think that's something I want to remind people of before our game even begins, before the strong start. Getting back to the characters. So we have Gaudenzia. Gaudenzia is a ranger, and we're going to give Gaudenzia the aware of the corruption, the ground of this whole town. Cal, who ran a vineyard, strange plants and weeds grow out of the ground. Mateo, the artificer, or the Mateo is the mechanist. So what can recognizes the embedded magic of, and the name of the dragon is Darkstar. Darkstar is the young blue dragon. I think it would be fun to have a young blue dragon mechanist, right? Except I don't know how mechanists operate. So we're probably just going to go with, regular old thing. But, Darkstar has magic embedded in his scales. I think that'll be fun. Rowan is our fighter. Way out here, sees Coppervein as the outer edge of the Dragon Empire. No known connection to the armies expanding the DE reach north and west. Tolstoy. So Tolstoy is the wizard who has given, is a follower of Mott, feels how the void is even a darker and more horrifying presence than Mott. And then Emmert is our ranger, another ranger, remembers how the sword singers slaughtered his people. So Emmert is actually from the area around here. He had a town to the north that was wiped out by the enslavers of Adisha, the Burning Sands, and they were just, everybody was like either murdered or conscripted to serve Adisha, and Adisha's goal was like find the ancient artifacts buried underneath. So we've got so that gives us 7 characters with 7 little hooks. Those are also our kind of secrets, right? You could cheat and say those are secrets, and then you don't have to do so many secrets, but we'll see. Scene-wise, they're going to face the mercenaries. Let's see, what we're going to do is bring the map up in the other window here. It is nice that no Obsidian, everything is a file. So I just go to the directory I would normally go to, and I've got all my maps. Whoops. All my maps are there too, except they're not I can put them in date order. So as far as like what's going on down here, there's the guard. So these guys were like guarding they were guarding the front door in the southwest. So the characters could go in a few different areas. Are there other, the main thing is like, probably like, we got to state their goal. So the, goal is destroy Darkstar and destabilize the sword singers, so they're not at the character's back when they head into Coppervein. Like that's why they're doing what they're doing. You'll note that like scenes can act as that sort of catch-all, right? So navigate the mid and upper Stonewatch. That's, I call that a scene, but it's a series of smaller scenes. I don't know exactly where they're going to go. We're going to figure out like who's where next, and then face and defeat the head of the sword singers, which I think are 2 bandit captains who rule together, and Darkstar, and then head into Coppervein. And I don't have any expectation that they will get further than this today, but I'm just for the hell of it, I'm going to stick because I really liked it. I actually used it as a secret. They learned about this. The giant fungoid meteorite of the void that crashed into the middle of Coppervein. I think that's kind of a neat thing that's going on here. And we can add that as a secret. A otherworldly meteor crashed into Coppervein, which brought strange plants connected to the void. I think that's kind of neat. One thing I wanted to look at is we're going to go back to our books here. In the monster book, there are these critters. I don't remember what they're called. I think they're the Tales of the Valiant equivalent of Githyanki, I think. They're kind of insectoid creatures. And I think it would be, I think they have some void connection. And it might be kind of fun to bring them in. I think we can add some layers to our, layers to what's going on inside Coppervein. Are they cell gangs? No. We have voidlings. Yeah, but that's not what I'm thinking of. They actually faced a voidling. I don't want to forget that guy. I want to bring those things into when they go into Coppervein. Yeah. Devourers, those who end the world due to their veneration of dark gods who seek to bring about apocalypse once them start to destroy. They are planar travelers. They speak void speech, so they kind of fit. So I think we're going to bring, what if the meteor was actually a craft into, what are these things? They're like sort of like insectoid lizard creatures. From the cracked meteor came larvae that turned into strange insectoid lizard creatures called satyr, world enders. And we're going to put a page number on these. Page 287. World enders born of the void, mind-warped humanoids began to worship these beings and the other strange creatures of Coppervein, becoming the cult of the void. I think that's cool. Interesting ideas. What if some of the sword singers brought a satyr corpse to Stonewatch? A fungus has started to grow on the corpse. That could be kind of fun. Some explorers describe great big worms bursting out of the ground, covered in spines and eyes. What was that critter we saw? I already lost it. It's probably under aberrations. I bet if we look under It's interesting the satyr are not under aberrations. Yeah, here they are. Mordo Vermis. That one's cool. I'm curious, going back, first of all, it can help me with the pronunciation. One thing I do like very much about the Tales of the Valiant Monster Vault is it's got these monster groupings here. But I looked under aberration and the satyr are not here. I wonder what their count as. Are they humanoid? Satyr. They're called satyr. Their allies are cultists, sealangs, voidlings, and void-related creatures. I could have used more. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to bring these guys in. They're kind of cool. They got like insectoid things going on too. Void pipers. These could kind of be like the cultists. Humanoids with strange antenna. What is it called? There's a name for it when your legs bend backwards. Recurvatum? No, that's like a disease. Digitigrade. Yes. Thank you. Digitigrade is the word. Humanoids with strange antenna and digitigrade legs have been seen with the strange void cultists. That's cool. So I'm kind of getting far out though. What are the specific secrets? So Darkstar is one of Adishah's archaeologists and sages who hunts for artifacts long buried under the sands of Adishah's domain. Adishah is arming for an eventual civil war against the other Morza. I think that's a good secret. Let's take a look back at the previous notes. Are there any secrets that it did? Various city-states used the Colosseum. There were some for joint games before the Dragon Empire was used as execution ground by nobles of Adishah for a time, largely abandoned. I already did that. Sunken culvert exists that leads below. We got that. Adishah seeks powerful magic items to war break out between the Morza. I just did that one. Adrika, Mother of Madness, is an elderly Darrow who can crush skulls with her hands. We talked about, we already avoided that one. Darkstar commands the Sword Singers, a mercenary company of treasure hunters working for Adishah. Thenia Stonecowl, elf sage of Adishah, hunts for the treasure. We're going to add this. Thenia Stonecowl, elf sage of Adishah, and partner. It's like an elf sage of Darkstar, right? Serves Darkstar in his hunt for artifacts. So that's a mage. I have an elf mage of Adishah. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. One more secret. Is there another specific? Let's take a look. We'll go back to it. Ponturous Stonecowl, a dwarf criminal with uneven teeth, leads the Sword Singers, but we decided that there's 2 of them, along with, and let's get another name, and we will go to the artisanal database, NPCs. Oh, what's going on with that? Why is my NPC thing not coming up? That's weird. Try my local copy. Oh, there it goes. It's just slow. That was weird. Glasswalker. It says Grasswalker, but I like Glasswalker. Or Iron Dance would be great. Carefree Satyr. I don't think we're going to do a Satyr. Wow, these are all weird. The human thug with a scarred cheek. And they are bandit captains. Cool. Stone Carol and Iron Dance. Because they're all the sword singers, right? So they all have like names about... Yeah, right, exactly. They have names of that thing. So I think that's, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we have 10 secrets. All right, moving on. Location-wise, are there any interesting things we need to note here? I think I put some... so I'm going to just grab the mid-floor and upper floor description. So you can see, like, I didn't even bother to, like, label the map or anything. You can, but, like, I'm going quick and dirty. I have enough where I can just... I wrote down some key phrases that fill this out. But we have Darkstar's perch, right, where Darkstar hangs out. Darkstar has quarters too, right? Where does Darkstar live? Up here. We'll probably say in that tower to the left. And Darkstar there's no entrance into Darkstar's chambers. Maybe Darkstar doesn't even stay here. There should be so I guess the Sage's Study is where they would be stashing treasures and stuff like that. Are there notable NPCs that I have not already highlighted? I think I need to bring in Delphi Frost Dancer, Delphi Frost Dancer is the human who's kind of the leader of the people of the sands who they rescued. So that works. And then I don't know that I need any others. I've got other people kind of named here. And I can always sort of randomly generate anybody I need during the game if I need anybody else. Monsters. Did I list monsters? So I have the monsters from before. So we have bandits, bandit captains, veterans, mage, and young blue star. Do I even need to bother writing that down? I mean, I'll stick it in here. And we'll say that there's about 18 bandits. I'm saving space by putting it all in one line. And then treasure. Let's look at last week's treasure. I think I did the carnelians before. So we're going to go to the artisanal database. We're going to go to the Tales of the Valiant treasure generator. And they are 5th to 10th level, and we will generate that. And we will see what we have here. I'm going to paste a new one. I got to fix the treasure generator because it's splitting out too many gemstones. Bloodstones are always good. Who doesn't like bloodstones? Fairy Infernal embroidered silk headscarf. That's pretty cool. Acidic draconic fine set of serving utensils. 500 gold pieces, yeah. Bracers of baleful reprisal. I don't know what those are. Potion of resistance. Hampering ammunition. We're going to get rid of that. +2 spiked undead war pick. We could have a war pick of the void that it's got like a shard of... It's got a shard of like void stuff in it. And I don't know if I've given out something like this before. War pick is a weird one, right? If we jump over here, let's take a look at... there's this kind of like, do you give out a suboptimal weapon? People always get mad. They're like, oh, it's +2, but it's a war pick, and I hate war picks. Who the hell specializes in war pick? Let's see if war pick is on the list here. I think it is, because I think all that stuff on there. War pick is a D8 piercing and can disarm. Oh, disarm as a maneuver. Black shard. What do we want to call this thing? Star shard. That's kind of a weird name. Void shard. Emptiness. Emptiness is kind of a cool name. And then what can it do? It could do, so it's +2. So like a good spell on a +2 would be like a 3rd-ish level spell or more. We could have it do like not a cone of cold, because that'd be pretty powerful, but like a higher level burning hands, like a 15-foot cone. So I like using force instead of necrotic. Necrotic would be typical for like void stuff. And we'll do 66 force damage. DC 15 con. Those killed by the blast. Psychic is kind of cool too. Do we want to do psychic instead? Yeah, psychic might be fun. And then it'd be a wisdom save. Or we could do a charisma save. And then blows up their heads. So like scanners. Instead of emptiness, touch of emptiness, touch of the void. Call it Touch of the Void. That's kind of cool. So that's a cool weapon. Let's see. Whoops. So we're going to get rid of these. I had a Pearl of Power. I think I'll keep the Pearl of Power. I don't remember if I gave that out or not. I can't go wrong with a couple of potions of greater healing. People really like them and need them. The Celestial Sapphire Hammer that casts Prayer of Healing, I gave that out. The Darrow Ethereal Bone, I did not. That casts Legend Lore. That's kind of a cool one. So it's a great big pile of treasure. We'll get rid of the Potion of Resistance. So I think this looks good for treasure. 1,000-ish gold, 54 platinum, so that's 1,500-ish gold, plus 500 gold, so that's 2,000 gold. And then another 550, so it's 2,500-ish gold. Bracers of Baleful Reprisal, we're gonna get rid of those. I don't like common magic items. I'm not into it like other people are. So that looks pretty good. And you know what? I wrote all of this in the wrong set of notes, so I just completely screwed this up. So we will get it back to where it was. Just for archival purposes, I want to know what I had given out or what was an option before. There we go. Okay, so now both sets of notes are up to date. And I think, so how do I feel? This is the big question, right? Do I feel good about where I am? Do I feel like I have everything I need for today's game? So I think I'm all set for today's game. Let's print everything out. Go to File, Export to Printer. Downscale to 90, that should be okay. Oh, look at that. Fits perfectly. With 7 players, do you need less? Do I need less prep or less what? What do you think I need less of? I need less players. But no, I love all my players. I'm happy to play with them. No, I think I need about the same amount of prep notes. I don't think it really changes. I don't think my prep changes. My prep really doesn't change much. Whatever I'm running, even when I'm running like one-on-one games, it's like this. This gives me everything I feel like I need in order to run my game. And it all fits on one page, which is great. Friends, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today while I prepped for my game. If you enjoyed this show and you want more stuff like this, if you want to keep up with all the other stuff that I do, the best way to do so is to subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter. It is absolutely free to sign up. You can find a link down in the show notes to sign up. You get a free adventure generator and a miniature version of 5th edition D&D in a PDF. You also get a weekly RPG-related email with links to all of the other work that I do and daily tips and all kinds of stuff. It's very, very, one weekly email that includes 7 tips, because those are the tips that I post daily elsewhere. You can also directly support me and get access to things like the 5e Artisanal database by joining the Patreon of Sly Flourish. You get access to all my Obsidian notes. You get access to a whole bunch of like tips, tricks, tools, a whole other podcast, adventure scenarios, tons of stuff that you get for being a patron of Sly Flourish. It's a very, very good deal. You can find a link for that in the show notes, and you can pick up any of my books, including Return to the Lazy Dungeon Master, City of Arches, Lazy DM's Companion, Forge of Foes, and more on the Sly Flourish bookstore. Links for all of that are in the show notes. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and get out there and play an RPG.